The Detroit Lions just surprised everyone with news no one expected, a turnaround that blends individual brilliance, behind-the-scenes frustration, and strategic decisions that could completely change the course of the season. Amid a string of intense games, an emerging defensive star shone like never before, while behind the scenes, the team faced a disappointment that left fans divided. NFL sources confirmed that the Lions tried to bolster the secondary with a big name, but ended up losing at the last minute. And before we tell you who the player was that slipped through Detroit's fingers, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell, because what's happening behind the scenes at the Lions is sending the locker room into a tizzy, and the fans completely into a frenzy. This just happened and is already dominating every conversation among fans in Detroit. Linebacker Jack Campbell, who joined the team in 2023 amidst much doubt, has just silenced his critics and proven that he is indeed the future of the Lions defense. In the game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Campbell had a simply monstrous performance, 11 total tackles and a forced fumble, leading the defense with authority and energy. Pro Football Focus didn't let it go unnoticed. Campbell received an impressive grade of 92.6, the highest-rated player on the entire team. This performance is no fluke. It's the result of a transformation that began quietly last season when he assumed the role of defensive leader after Alex Anzalone's injury. Now in 2025, he not only maintains that role, but is evolving into one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And his impact goes far beyond statistics. Campbell is now the heart of Kelvin Shepard's defense. The coach relies on him as the brains of the system, the on-field communicator, the one who reads the plays before the opposing offense even moves. His presence has changed the tone of the defense, which now plays with more aggression and synchronicity. This shows how the 2023 draft pick, which generated so much controversy at the time, was actually a long-term decision. Today, few doubt that Campbell is one of the team's key young strengths and one of the pieces that can lead the team in a serious playoff run. While Campbell shines and establishes himself as a defensive leader, the offense also had its highlights in the victory over the Bengals. Rookie left guard Christian Mahogany and wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown received the team's highest offensive ratings, demonstrating the balance between the two units. Mahogany helped open up key spaces in the running game, while St. Brown, once again, was a consistent machine. 8 receptions for over 100 yards, confirming his status as one of the league's most reliable receivers. The problem, however, arose on the offensive line. Giovanni Manu, starting for the first time in his career, had a day to forget. Replacing Taylor Decker at the last minute, Manu struggled with Trey Hendrickson and ended up being the player with the lowest grade on the team according to PFF, just 42.2, with a disastrous 17.5 in pass blocking. But if the Lions displayed strength on the field, the situation was quite different off it. The team tried to act quickly to bolster the weakest part of the roster, the secondary. With DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, and Khalil Dorsey all dealing with injuries in recent weeks, the Detroit front office went to the market in search of experience and depth. And that's when the twist came. The Lions were very close to signing veteran Michael Davis, a seasoned cornerback who spent 7 years with the Chargers and was coming off a solid season with the Washington Commanders. Everything seemed on track until the New Orleans Saints entered the game and stole the defender right at the end of the stretch. According to NFL Network's Mike Garafolo, the Saints managed to convince Davis to change course by offering something the Lions couldn't at that moment, an immediate roster spot. And more than that, the presence of defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, with whom Davis worked in Los Angeles, played a significant role in the decision. Familiarity with the system and confidence in the coach were decisive, and the Saints prevailed. For the Lions, it was a bitter defeat because Davis was seen as an immediate solution, capable of bringing stability and experience to a group currently full of young players and makeshift reserves. Davis, 30, 6'2", has over 70 career starts and still has plenty of gas left in the tank. His arrival would have been a valuable addition at a time when Detroit desperately needs defensive depth to face the coming weeks. But even with the frustration of the trade failing, there is a positive. A new medical evaluation indicated that Terrion Arnold, the young corner who appeared to have a season-ending injury, could return much sooner than expected. According to sources close to the team, Arnold avoided shoulder surgery and could return to the field in as little as 4 weeks, completely changing the team's defensive landscape. In other words, while a reinforcement narrowly escaped, one of the key names of the defensive future could be back as early as October. And that's a huge deal for a team struggling to balance young talent with experience. The Detroit Lions are at a critical juncture. Jack Campbell is solidifying his leadership. The offense remains productive, but the defense needs to weather the injuries and remain solid until the starters return. The season is just beginning, but the feeling in Detroit is clear. Something big is brewing. And if Campbell continues at this pace, this defense could be the difference needed to make the Super Bowl dream a reality.
The Detroit Lions just surprised everyone with a trade prediction. NFL sources indicate that the Detroit team may be preparing to make one of the biggest moves on the market, targeting one of the league's top pass rushers. And it's not just any name. We're talking about Trey Hendrickson, the Cincinnati Bengals monster, one of the NFL's most feared defenders in recent seasons. This potential trade is already generating a real buzz among fans and experts, because if it actually happens, the impact would be immediate. Before delving into the details of this explosive prediction, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because what's coming promises to shake up the locker room in Detroit and push the team even closer to the Super Bowl. This just happened and is already dominating all the conversations among fans in Michigan. After months of anticipation for a move on the defensive line, the Lions finally seem ready to act. Speculation is swirling around the arrival of Hendrickson, a player who could completely transform the Lions' defense and, most importantly, alleviate the pressure on Aiden Hutchinson, who has so far carried much of the burden in the pass rush. And most interestingly, this prediction didn't come from nowhere. It was made by Josh Weil, an analyst for Pro Football and Sports Network, who predicted a trade between the Lions and Bengals, sending Hendrickson to Detroit in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2026 draft. A steep price, it's true, but if you want to compete among the big leagues, sometimes you have to pay a high price to move up. And here's the point no one can ignore. The Lions have been touted as one of the most balanced teams in the NFL. The offense, led by Jared Goff and boasting an elite offensive line, is among the best in the league. But the defense, while solid, still needs something more. A game-changing factor, a brute force that can change the game on third downs and strike fear into opposing quarterbacks. Hendrickson would be exactly that kind of player. He's a nightmare for any offensive line, racking up 4 sacks and 21 pressures in just 4 games this season after leading the NFL in sacks the year before. Imagine this duo, Aiden Hutchinson on one side and Trey Hendrickson on the other. That would put Detroit among the league's best pressure defenses, a crucial step toward the top. But what makes it all even more realistic is the context in Cincinnati. The Bengals are facing a storm. With Joe Burrow injured and out indefinitely, the team has plummeted to a 2-5 record, losing 3 straight games and watching the season slip away. Backup Jake Browning hasn't been able to hold up the fort, and the team has turned to Joe Flacco in a desperate attempt to salvage the year. The truth is, if things continue to get worse, the team may be forced to look to the future, and that includes considering strategic trades to recoup draft capital. And Hendrickson, who has already clashed with management over a contract extension, would be the first name on the table. This tension between player and team is what opens the window for the Lions to act. Hendrickson wants a contract that reflects his value, but the Bengals have yet to offer one. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler who can become a free agent in 2026, meaning his time in Cincinnati could be coming to an end. And if the Bengals do decide to embark on a small rebuild, selling Hendrickson while he still has a high value would be a smart move. Now enter Brad Holmes, the Lions general manager who has been praised for building one of the most consistent and strategic franchises in the league. Holmes knows that Super Bowl windows don't stay open for long. Detroit is experiencing a rare moment, a young, competitive, healthy roster with complete confidence in Dan Campbell's system. The team believes, the fans believe, and the entire league is starting to notice. But if there's one thing that still separates the Lions from the true NFL giants, it's the lack of a second elite pass rusher. Adding Hendrickson would be the missing piece to transform a good defense into a dominant one, capable of winning decisive games against teams like the 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles. And it's not just on the field that this potential trade would have an impact. It would send a direct message to the rest of the league. Detroit is playing to win now. No fan wants to hear about projects for the future when the team already has enough talent to compete with anyone. Now is the time. And frankly, Hendrickson to the Lions sounds like the kind of bold move that defines historic seasons. If the prediction comes true, the locker room will gain not only a star player, but also an intimidating presence, someone who raises the bar for the entire defensive group. The Lions' future could be about to take another leap, and this trade, even if only a prediction for now, already shows how much Detroit is being seen as a true Super Bowl contender. Now it remains to be seen whether Brad Holmes will pull the trigger and turn this idea into reality. Because one thing is certain, if Trey Hendrickson dons the blue and silver, the entire NFL will have to pay attention. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Until the next update.